The rain hammered against the stained glass windows of the old Boston brownstone like accusations from a forgotten god, each drop a reminder that Eleanor Hawthorne's heart had always beat in rhythms no one else could hear. Lydia stared at the will trembling in her hands, the ink stark and final. 90% of everything, the house, the savings, the sprawling garden that bloomed with secrets, left to her, the daughter who wasn't born of blood but forged in quiet, unspoken devotion. But as the lawyer's voice cracked over the phone, revealing a hidden codicil buried in a lockbox of yellowed letters, Lydia's world shattered like the thunder outside, because her mother's love wasn't just for her, it was a wildfire, fierce and forbidden, shared with a woman whose name she'd never whispered. Lydia collapsed into the velvet armchair that had cradled her through childhood storms, the one where Eleanor would read fairy tales of brave girls who chose their own paths. At 28, with her auburn hair tangled from the sleepless night since the funeral, Lydia felt the weight of those stories twist into something sharper, more real. Eleanor's death from a sudden aneurysm 3 days ago had been a thief in the night, stealing the woman who baked apple pies with hidden messages in the crust, notes that said, "You are enough, and now this." The lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, a dry man with spectacles like half-moons, had mailed the envelope overnight, his voice on the voicemail a reluctant harbinger. "Miss Hawthorne, there's more to the estate than we thought. A letter from your mother, addressed to you alone. It changes perspectives." She tore open the envelope with fingers that shook like autumn leaves, the paper scented faintly with lavender, the same as Eleanor's perfume, the one that lingered on scarves Lydia still buried her face in at night. The letter unfolded like a confession, Eleanor's elegant script looping across the page. "My dearest Lydia, if you're reading this, I've gone ahead without you. But know this, my heart was never mine alone. It belonged to Vivian Reed, from the day we met in that Cambridge bookstore, rain-soaked and laughing over dog-eared copies of Virginia Woolf. She was my love, my mirror, the woman who held me when the world demanded I hide. And you, my girl, were our dream made flesh, adopted not from pity, but from a love so deep it birthed a family in shadows." Lydia's breath caught, a sob escaping before she could cage it. Vivian. The name echoed like a half-remembered melody. Aunt Viv, the family friend who appeared at holidays with bottles of Merlot and stories of far-off places, her blue eyes always lingering a beat too long on Eleanor across the dinner table. The woman who taught Lydia to sail on Cape Cod summers, her hands steady on the tiller, voice soft with lessons about following the wind's true direction. All those years, the glances exchanged over coffee, the way Vivian's laughter would pull Eleanor from her quiet moods, Lydia had seen the warmth, but chalked it up to old friendship, the kind straight women shared without question. But this was a revelation that clawed at her chest, demanding she rewrite every memory. The phone buzzed again, Mr. Hargrove's number flashing like a warning. Lydia answered on the third ring, her voice raw. "What does it change? The will, does she get half? Does Viv? Does she take it all back?" "Not take, Miss Hawthorne," he replied, his tone measured, like he was diffusing a bomb. "The codicil acknowledges Vivian as Eleanor's life partner, undisclosed for legal reasons back then. It allocates 10% to her outright, but the bulk remains yours. However, there's a condition. You must meet with Ms. Reed to discuss the estate's full history." Eleanor insisted. She's insistent, even in death. Lydia hung up, the room spinning. Insistent. That was Eleanor, always the architect of truths too big for one lifetime. Born in 1950s Boston to a family of bankers who prized propriety above breadth, Eleanor had rebelled quietly, studying literature at Radcliffe, where she first tasted the thrill of words that mirrored her hidden self. But society's chains were ironclad. Women like her married men they pitted, bore children to prove normalcy. Except Eleanor never married. She adopted Lydia at 3, a wide-eyed orphan from a foster system that chewed up dreams, plucking her from uncertainty with a fierceness that felt like destiny. Now, that destiny unraveled. Lydia paced the creaking floors, the the house groaning as if in sympathy. The foyer mirror caught her reflection. Sharp cheekbones inherited from no one she knew, green eyes flecked with gold that Eleanor always called emerald fire. She was a graphic designer in her small Somerville apartment, sketching logos for queer-owned cafes, her own heart a tentative bloom, dates with women that fizzled under the weight of her guarded soul. How could she face Vivian, the ghost made flesh, when Eleanor's love story exposed the fractures in her own? By dawn, the rain had softened to a mist, veiling the Charles River in gray silk as Lydia drove her beat-up Subaru toward Vivian's address in Beacon Hill, a townhouse with ivy-cloaked bricks and window boxes bursting with defiant geraniums. Her stomach twisted, a cocktail of grief and fury. What right did this woman have to Eleanor's heart? To Lydia's? Yet beneath the anger simmered curiosity, a pull like gravity toward the woman who'd been woven into her life, without her knowing the thread. Vivian answered the door in a linen shirt rolled to her elbows, her dark curls streaked with silver, framing a face etched with lines of quiet endurance. At 58, she moved with the grace of someone who'd danced through storms, her blue eyes, those piercing sapphires, locking onto Lydia's with a sorrow that mirrored her own. "Lydia," she said, voice like aged whiskey, warm and rough. "You look just like her when she was angry." The words landed like a slap, but softer, laced with affection. Lydia stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of fresh coffee and old books, shelves groaning under volumes of poetry, wild, rich lore. A photo on the mantel caught her eye. Eleanor and Vivian, mid-30s, arms linked on a windswept main cliff, laughing into the camera, free in a way Lydia had never seen her mother. "Why now?" Lydia demanded, thrusting the letter forward like evidence. "Why hide it? All those years you were—" "What? Her sister?" "Her shadow." Vivian gestured to the worn leather sofa, pouring coffee into mismatched mugs, Eleanor's habit, collecting them from thrift shops like talismans.
"Sit, love."
"It's a long story, and your mother's ghost is impatient." She sank down, hands folding in her lap, knuckles white. "We met in '89 at that bookstore. I was a professor's assistant, fresh from a divorce that felt like waking from a fever dream." Eleanor was browsing Feminist Lit, her fingers tracing spines like they held salvation. One spilled tea, 2 hours of talk, and suddenly the world made sense. But Boston then? It was a cage. AIDS crisis raging, politicians preaching family values while families like ours were invisible. We couldn't hold hands in public without whispers turning to stones. Lydia sipped the coffee, bitter and grounding, as Vivian's words painted the canvas of a love Lydia had missed. They built a life in fragments, weekend getaways to Provincetown, where drag queens toasted their secrecy, quiet dinners where Vivian's foot brushed Eleanor's under the table, a Morse code of desire. When Eleanor decided to adopt, Vivian was there in the shadows, forging references, pacing hospital halls during home visits, her love the silent scaffold. "You were 3, all curls and questions," Vivian said, her voice cracking. "Eleanor saw you and said, 'She's ours.' We raised you together, but I was the aunt, the friend, because the world demanded it. And we paid for that lie, in stolen moments, in Eleanor's migraines from the strain." Tears blurred Lydia's vision, the hook of betrayal softening into understanding. "Did I know? On some level, did I feel it?" She thought of the nights she'd wake to murmurs from Eleanor's room, Vivian's car in the drive too late for just coffee. The way they'd harmonize old folk songs in the kitchen, voices blending like they were one breath. Vivian reached across, her hand hovering before settling on Lydia's knee, a touch electric with history. "You felt it, kiddo. That's why you're here, fighting for the truth even when it hurts. Eleanor left you the house because it's yours, our home, built on love that bent but never broke. The 10%? It's for me to keep the lights on, but more than that, it's her way of saying we're family. All of us." The afternoon unfolded in fragile layers, Vivian pulling out a trunk from the attic, letters tied with ribbon, photos faded at the edges. One showed Lydia at 5, sandwiched between them on a beach blanket, ice cream smeared on 3 sets of cheeks. "Our little Trinity," Eleanor had captioned it. As sunlight slanted through the windows, Lydia traced the arcs of their lives. Eleanor's first novel, rejected for its unconventional heroines. Vivian's tenure denied amid rumors of her lifestyle. The quiet joy of Lydia's first school play, where they cheered from the back row, hands clasped in the dark. But as dusk crept in, shadows lengthened with unanswered questions. "What about Dad?" Lydia asked, the word tasting foreign. Eleanor had spun tales of a vague artist who vanished, a placeholder for the truth. Vivian's smile turned wistful. "There was no Dad, not in the way you think. We chose a donor, anonymous, because we chose each other. You were planned, wanted, our rebellion made flesh." The revelation settled like sediment in Lydia's chest, stirring a storm. She drove home under a sky bruised purple, the will's percentages meaningless now against the infinity of love's math. That night, sleep evaded her, dreams weaving Eleanor and Vivian into tapestries of touch, fingers interlacing, lips brushing in hidden alcoves. Lydia woke with a resolve sharper than grief. She would honor this, not by division, but by division's end. The next morning brought Hargrove's office, a sterile space in downtown Boston smelling of polished oak and stale ambition. Lydia arrived with Vivian at her side, their arms brushing, a solidarity unspoken. The lawyer adjusted his tie, folders splayed like cards in a high-stakes game. "The estate totals $2.3 million, property, investments, royalties from Eleanor's books. 90% to you, Lydia, 10 to Ms. Reed. But the condition stands, joint decisions on the house. Sell, or preserve as a family trust." Vivian's gaze met Lydia's, steady as lighthouse beams. "Preserve," Lydia said, the word tasting like vow. "It's not just bricks.
It's
us." Hargrove nodded, oblivious to the undercurrent, but as they left, Lydia felt the city's pulse sync with her own, a rhythm of hidden lives emerging. Over the following weeks, the house became a bridge. Vivian moved in temporarily, to sort papers, but it was more. Mornings of shared yogurt parfaits, evenings poring over Eleanor's manuscripts, laughter punctuating the ache. Lydia discovered Vivian's dry wit masked a poet's soul. She found letters Vivian had written to Eleanor, verses of longing that made Lydia's own heart ache with possibility. One crisp October evening, as leaves turned the back bay into a firestorm of red and gold, Lydia confessed over chamomile tea. "I've been scared, Viv. Of love like that, raw, unapologetic. My dates. They fade because I see Mom in every glance, wondering if I'll have to hide too." Vivian set her mug down, eyes soft with the wisdom of scars. "Your mother didn't hide from love. She hid to protect it. But times shift, Lydia. Look at us now. 2 women, building what she dreamed." She paused, vulnerability cracking her voice. "And you? You're her fire unquenched. Don't let fear bank it." The words ignited something in Lydia, a spark that flickered toward her own truths. At a queer-lit reading in Jamaica Plain, she met Clara, a barista with ink-smeared fingers and a laugh like summer rain, her short-cropped hair dyed electric blue, eyes holding stories of her own coming-out wars. Clara's poetry spoke of bodies as battlegrounds reclaimed, and when their hands brushed over shared chapbooks, Lydia felt the pull, not shadowed, but bold. Their first date was a walk along the Esplanade, the Charles glittering under string lights, Boston's skyline a testament to reinvention. Clara listened as Lydia spilled fragments of the will, the letters, the love that rewrote her stars. "That's not a secret," Clara said, lacing their fingers. "That's a legacy. Your mom's gift showing you love wins, even when it whispers." As autumn deepened, so did they. Stolen kisses in coffee shops, nights tangled in Lydia's apartment, bodies mapping new territories of trust. Vivian watched with quiet pride, her own grief easing into companionship, phone calls with old friends, a tentative profile on a widow's site. The house, once a mausoleum of memory, hummed with life. Clara's guitar strums echoing through halls, Vivian's herb garden thriving under Lydia's novice hands. Yet drama brewed. As a dozen lives remade. Eleanor's estranged brother, Uncle Theo, a silver-haired accountant from Connecticut, all pressed khakis and moral certainty, surfaced with a lawyer of his own. He'd heard whispers through family grapevines, the will's irregularities, affront to his vision of propriety. Over a tense Thanksgiving dinner at the brownstone, turkey carved like battle lines, Theo leaned forward, face flushed with wine and righteousness. Eleanor was family, Lydia. Blood family. This Vivian business, it's a scandal. I contest the codicil. 10%? She gets nothing. The house sells, divided fair. Vivian's fork clattered, her composure fracturing. Fair? You mean erasing 35 years because it doesn't fit your narrow ledger? The table fell silent, Clara's hand squeezing Lydia's under the cloth, a lifeline in the fray. Lydia rose, voice steady as forged steel. Uncle Theo, you visited twice a decade, sent checks at Christmas like bribes for silence. Mom built this. Us. Without your approval. The will stands because love wrote it, not law. She slid the letters across the table, Eleanor's words a shield. Read them. See the woman you called sister, not the myth you preferred. Theo's bluster wilted under the weight, eyes scanning pages that bled truth. By night's end, he left with a handshake, not a fight, muttering of thinking it over, but Lydia knew the tide had turned. In the aftermath, as snow dusted the garden, the three women, Lydia, Vivian, Clara, stood on the back porch, breaths fogging the air. To Eleanor, Vivian toasted with hot toddies, who taught us to claim our space. Winter wrapped Boston in hush, but Lydia's heart thawed. Clara moved in by New Year's, their love a quiet revolution, mornings of shared sketches, Clara's barista shifts ending in Lydia's arms. Vivian found solace in a book club for late-blooming lesbians, her laughter returning like spring's first robins. The estate settled without contest, the house deeded to a trust, Lydia and Vivian co-stewards, a monument to enduring bonds. One April dawn, as cherry blossoms carpeted the common, Lydia knelt in the garden, planting lavender starts, Eleanor's favorite, symbol of quiet devotion. Clara joined her, dirt smudging their knees, Vivian watching from the window with a smile that held oceans. She'd be proud, Clara murmured, pressing a kiss to Lydia's temple. Lydia looked up, the sun gilding her face, and whispered to the wind, "We all are." But legacies, like roots, delve deep, and not all secrets surface clean. Months later, amid the humid haze of a Boston summer, a package arrived unmarked, postmarked from Portland. Inside, a slim volume, self-published, titled Echoes of Half-Lives. The author, Vivian Reed. Lydia's hands trembled as she cracked the spine, pages filled with poems that wove their shared history, Eleanor's laugh like thunder wrapped in silk, Lydia's childhood questions, arrows seeking light, and stanzas of longing that spanned decades, raw with the ache of concealed caresses. Clara found her curled on the window seat, book clutched like a talisman. "Viv's a poet?" Clara asked, settling beside her, leg pressed warm against Lydia's. "Always was," Lydia replied, voice thick. Mom kept her verses in a drawer, like forbidden fruit. They read aloud, voices mingling, Clara's bold timbre lifting the refrains, Lydia's softer cadence tracing the intimate confessions. One poem gutted her. To the girl we made, it began, "You bloomed from whispers, our hands the soil, slash fierce as the storm we weathered in silence. Slash now claim the sun, love without apology." Tears fell unchecked, catharsis flooding the room. That evening, they confronted Vivian over dinner. Pad thai from the corner Thai spot, steam rising like unspoken words. "Why publish now?" Lydia asked, sliding the book across the oak table, lamplight casting shadows that danced like memories. Vivian traced the cover, her fingers lingering on the embossed title. Your mother always said, "Write it down, Viv, so it lives beyond us." I waited, for her, for you. But grief's a thief, it steals tomorrows. This is my reclaiming. And yours, if you'll have it. Clara, ever the bridge builder, raised her glass to echoes that become anthems. They clinked, the sound a chime of absolution, and as stories spilled, Vivian recounting the night Eleanor proposed with a ring hidden in a Woolf novel, Lydia felt the pieces slot home. Her own sketches evolved, designs for a queer archive in the house's attic, shelves for letters like theirs, walls for art that screamed silent loves. Yet tension simmered beyond the brownstone's walls. Theo's contest, though dormant, festered in legal limbo, his lawyer sending probing emails about undue influence. Lydia's freelance gigs dried up amid the stress, deadlines blurring into doubt. One sweltering August night, after a voicemail from Theo, "Think of the family name, Lydia. This tarnishes it," she snapped. Pacing the kitchen, phone in hand, she dialed a number she'd unearthed from Eleanor's contacts. Sarah, a private investigator from the adoption agency days, now retired in Quincy. "Sarah? It's Lydia Hawthorne. Mom's gone and I need answers."
About me.
About how it really happened. The line hummed with pause, then Sarah's voice, gravelly from years of smokes and secrets. "Girl, some doors stay shut for a reason. But if Eleanor's dust, reckon it's time. Meet me tomorrow, Harborfront noon." The next day, salt air whipping her hair, Lydia met Sarah at a weathered pier, gulls wheeling overhead like judges. The woman was compact, silver buzz cut and tattooed forearms peeking from a Red Sox tee, eyes sharp as harbor hooks. Over lobster rolls from a food truck, she laid it bare. "Your adoption wasn't clean-cut. Eleanor and Viv came to us in '98, posing as single mom and supportive aunt. Donor was a med student, anonymous, but the paperwork? They fudged dates to hide the timeline. Viv was there for every ultrasound consult, every late-night craving run." Lydia's fork paused midair. "Ultrasound? Mom never." Sarah nodded, compassionate but unflinching. "Miscarriage early on, but they tried again. You weren't carried, but you were chosen with the same fire."
Theo?
He sniffed around back then, threatened to out them to the board. Eleanor paid him off, quiet cash, to keep the peace. That's the hook he's got now. Fraud on the adoption file. The revelation hit like a rogue wave, drenching Lydia in nausea.
Fraud.
Her very existence, a lie etched in ink. She drove home in a daze, the harbor's cries fading to white noise. Vivian was in the garden, pruning roses, thorns nicking her fingers like pennants. "It wasn't fraud," she said when Lydia confronted her, voice breaking. "It was survival. We loved you into being, forms be damned." Clara arrived home to the standoff, sensing the fracture. That night, in bed, she held Lydia through the sobs. "You're not a lie. You're the truth they fought for." Her touch grounded, lips trailing fire along Lydia's collarbone. A reminder that bodies don't forge documents, they speak volumes. Emboldened, Lydia hired her own counsel, a fierce queer attorney named Reyes, with a reputation for dismantling patriarchies in court. Depositions loomed, Theo's camp pushing for discovery, every letter, every photo a potential exhibit. The strain etched lines on Vivian's face, her poetry drying up. Clara's shifts doubled to cover bills, her easy smiles strained. Climax brewed in a hearing room downtown, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. Theo sat ramrod, his lawyer, a slick suit with a Bible verse tie pin, parading emails as evidence of coercion. Lydia took the stand, heart pounding, Reyes at her elbow. "Coercion," she echoed, voice clear as cracked ice. "My mother's built a life from love the law ignored. These letters? They're not leverage, they're liberty." Vivian testified next, her words a poem recited from memory, tales of hospital vigils, of Eleanor's hand in hers during Lydia's fevers. Theo shifted, discomfort cracking his facade. When his turn came, he faltered, admitting the payoffs, the jealousy of a sister who shone brighter without him. I wanted inclusion, he mumbled, voice small. The judge, a woman with gray-streaked braids and a rainbow pin on her robe, ruled swift. Codicil upheld, contest dismissed. Love's no fraud, she intoned, gavel falling like grace. Outside, rain slicked the streets, but Lydia's world cleared. Theo approached, hand extended. Not for property, but peace. I was wrong. Tell Viv. I'm sorry. She nodded, the bridge mended, if not whole. Fall returned, leaves a triumphant blaze. The archive opened quietly, a ribbon cut by Vivian, Clara strumming an acoustic welcome. Lydia's designs adorned the walls, murals of intertwined hands, quotes from Eleanor's hidden drafts. Donors trickled in, women sharing stories of shadowed romances, men allies bearing witness. One evening, as snow flurried early, Lydia and Clara stood on the roof deck, city lights winking below. Marry me? Clara whispered, ring glinting, a simple band engraved with wolves, to the lighthouse of us. Yes, Lydia breathed, pulling her close, their kiss a seal on futures unwritten. Vivian joined them later, a bottle of Merlot raised. To the loves that reveal us. Glasses chimed, and in that moment, Eleanor's spirit wove through 90% heart, 10% codicil, 100% legacy. Years folded like well-worn pages. Lydia and Clara's wedding was a garden affair, Roses nodding in approval, Vivian officiating with verses from her book. The brownstone became a haven. Workshops for young queers navigating closets, Clara's coffee cart parked out front on weekends. Lydia's illustrations graced covers of lesbian memoirs, her art a beacon for the hidden. Vivian traveled. Lectures on queer poetics in San Francisco, retreats in the Berkshires, but always returned, her room a constant. One spring, she met Elena, a sculptor with hands like Eleanor's, gentle, sure. Their courtship was slow burn, walks in the public garden, but Lydia saw the spark, the way Vivian's eyes lit like rediscovered stars. Theo visited sporadically, thawing into an uncle who baked lopsided pies, his apologies baked in. The family, fractured once, knit tighter, blood or chosen irrelevant. On Lydia's 30th birthday, they gathered for a ritual, burying a time capsule in the garden, letters from Eleanor, Vivian's latest poems, Clara's sheet music, Lydia's sketches. For the girl who'll dig it up, Lydia said, soil cool under her nails. May she know, love endures, secrets bloom into stories. As twilight deepened, they linked arms, 3 generations of women, hands clasped against the gathering dark. The will's percentages faded to footnotes. What remained was the infinite, a love revealed, a life reclaimed, a legacy that whispered, you are enough and more. Lydia's days blurred into a rhythm of creation and quiet revolution, the brownstone's walls absorbing the echoes of laughter and late-night debates. Clara's coffee cart evolved into a full cafe, Whisper Grounds, its menu scrawled with puns from Eleanor's old jokes, latte love, for those who stir the pot. Lydia freelanced from the attic archive, her digital canvases alive with narratives of resilience, a series on shadow mothers, portraits of lesbian couples who'd parented in secrecy, their faces fierce with unbowed pride. Vivian thrived in her Twilight Renaissance, her poetry collection reissued with a foreword by a Pulitzer nominee who'd wept over the galley proofs. Elena's presence added a new melody, dinners where her clay-smeared fingers intertwined with Vivian's, stories of her own hidden youth in rural Vermont clashing beautifully with Vivian's urban elegies. Lydia watched them, a pang of completion mingling with a ghost of loss. Mom would adore her, she told Clara one night, tangled in sheets scented with vanilla and fresh ink. She does, Clara murmured, tracing Lydia's spine. From wherever fierce souls go. Their intimacy deepened, bodies a language of affirmation, Clara's lips mapping constellations on Lydia's skin, whispers of mine and forever, chasing away old doubts. Yet in the hush of pre-dawn, Lydia sometimes woke to Eleanor's absence, the bed too vast without her stories. Summer brought a pilgrimage. Provincetown, the queer Mecca where Eleanor and Vivian had stolen weekends. They rented a cottage on the dunes, salt air thick with possibility. Vivian led tide pool explorations, her voice rising over waves as she recited Sappho fragments, Elena sketching the iridescent crabs in quick strokes. Lydia and Clara wandered the breakwater at sunset, hands swinging, the lighthouse beams sweeping like a lover's gaze. That night, around a driftwood fire, truths unfurled. Vivian pulled a faded Polaroid from her wallet. Her and Eleanor, 1992, topless on a private beach, arms around knees, grins defiant against the horizon. Our first time free, she said, passing it to Lydia. No eyes but the seas. Lydia held it, the image burning, bodies unashamed, love etched in sand and shadow. You are brave, she whispered. Clara squeezed her thigh, grounding. Elena leaned in, her voice a low hum. Brave's what we do when love demands it. Like Vivian choosing to stay after Eleanor's diagnosis scare in '05, doctors said aneurysm risk, but she said, not without you. The fire crackled, embers rising like prayers. Lydia shared her own vulnerability. A client rejection, sketches deemed too bold for mainstream mags. Am I enough? For this life we built. Vivian's eyes, blue as the bay, held hers. You are the life we built. Enough isn't a measure, it's the measure. Back in Boston, autumn's chill spurred action. The archive hosted its first exhibit, Revealed, Legacies of Love, letters and artifacts from local LGBT elders loaned like sacred relics. Opening night buzzed, drag performers emceeing, reporters from the Globe snapping candids. Theo arrived awkward in a tweed jacket, clutching a bottle of kosher wine. For the cause, he grunted, but his hug lingered, genuine. Midway through, a heckler from a fringe group slunk in, flyers decrying deviant histories, voice oily with scripture. Lydia stepped forward, microphone in hand, heart hammering. This isn't deviance, it's devotion. My mother's loved in silence, so I could speak. Join us, or leave, but don't dim our light. The room erupted in cheers, the man slinking out tail between legs. Clara pulled her into a kiss on stage, unscripted, electric, the crowd whooping as flashbulbs popped. In that blaze, Lydia tasted triumph, not just survival, but sovereignty. Winter holidays wove new traditions. Hanukkah candles flickered alongside a menorah Theo gifted, his nod to Elena's heritage, while Christmas lights twinkled over eggnog laced with Eleanor's secret rum recipe. Vivian and Elena exchanged rings on solstice, a hand fasting under the solstice moon, cords of silk binding wrists in the garden snow. Lydia's gift to Clara, a custom sketchbook, pages filled with their future, hypothetical kids with blue-streaked curls, cafes expanding to chains, archives blooming nationwide. Our story, she inscribed. Clara's tears fell on the vellum, smudging but not erasing. Yet beneath the joy, undercurrents stirred. A letter from Sarah, the PI, arrived in February, addendum to the adoption file, unsealed by new laws. Inside, the donor's profile, redacted name but details stark. Artist, queer, early 30s at conception. Might be worth tracing, Sarah scrawled. Closure or kin. Lydia's pulse raced.
Kin.
Blood calling across decades. She confided in Vivian over tea, steam curling like question marks. Do I chase it? Or let sleeping roots lie? Vivian sipped, thoughtful. Your mother's love was choice, not chance. But curiosity's a compass. Follow if it points true. Clara, practical poet, suggested a road trip. Portland. The postmark's echo, galleries teeming with queer art. They packed the Subaru, Vivian and Elena opting for a train rendezvous, and hit the highway, I-95 unspooling like thread. Maine's coast welcomed with fog-shrouded pines, lobster shacks neon against gray seas. In Portland's Old Port, they wandered cobbled streets, Clara's hand warm in Lydia's glove. A gallery sign caught her. Echoes exhibit. Abstracts of fractured families. Artist. J. Ellis. Inside, canvases screamed silence. Silhouettes embracing in storm clouds, text overlays of redacted files. The artist emerged, mid-50s, salt and pepper bob, overalls paint-splattered, eyes green-flecked gold. Jade, she introduced, handshake firm. These are personal. Lydia's breath hitched, the eyes, the cheekbones. My name's Lydia Hawthorne. Adopted 98. Donor. Maybe. Jade froze, then softened, leading them to a back room. Over herbal tea, stories collided. Jade's youthful donation for a clinic study, her own coming out post-college, art as exorcism. Never thought I'd meet, she said, voice husky. But seeing you, it's like staring at echoes. No instant bond, but a bridge. Shared lunches, Jade's studio visits where Lydia sketched beside her, Clara jamming with local focus. Vivian arrived with Elena, the five forming an impromptu pod, dinners of chowder and confessions, laughter healing old divides. Back home, the connection deepened via emails, Jade's newsletters on queer parenting collectives, invitations to her shows. Lydia's sketches incorporated her motifs, fractured mirrors mending into holes. Spring unfurled with possibility. Clara announced her pregnancy. IVF, donor chosen together, a circle completed. Lydia's joy warred with terror. Am I ready to mother? When mine was half hidden. Vivian mentored through it, sharing Eleanor's pregnancy journals. Miscarried dreams turned to adoption resolve. Fears the shadow, loves the light. You'll eclipse both. Theo, reformed, offered nursery furniture. From your cousin's attic, family hand-me-downs. Elena sculpted a mobile. Abstract lovers orbiting stars, mobiles for the baby-to-be. Labor came in July heatwave, Boston's hospitals humming. Clara gripped Lydia's hand through contractions, sweat slick and swearing. Our kid, she gasped. From our storm. At 3:17 a.m., Riley arrived, red-faced, wailing, tiny fists clenched like victors. Lydia held her first, heart exploding. Auburn wisps, eyes squinting blue. Vivian entered, Elena trailing, their faces radiant. Eleanor's echo, Vivian whispered, kissing the crown. Theo waited outside, cigar unlit in tribute. A fighter, he said later, over cake. Like her grandma. Parenthood reshaped them. Sleepless nights to lullabies, Clara's cafe hours juggled with bottles, Lydia's archive talks now laced with diaper anecdotes. Jade visited, anti by choice, her art inspiring Riley's first mobiles. One crisp fall eve, as leaves swirled, Lydia pushed the stroller through the common, Clara beside, Vivian and Elena arm-in-arm ahead. Riley cooed at pigeons, oblivious to legacy. 10 years from the will, Lydia mused. Feels like lifetimes. Clara smiled, kissing her knuckles. And we're just beginning. In the brownstone that night, with Riley asleep, they gathered in the library, bookshelves guardians. Vivian raised a toast, to revealed loves, to roots that reach. Glasses chimed, and Lydia felt it. Eleanor's presence, not ghost but guide. The 90%? It was everything, a fortune of feeling, willed to the brave. Riley's first steps echoed through the brownstone like tiny earthquakes, each wobble of victory over gravity's doubt. Lydia captured them in quick sketches, pudgy legs splayed, Clara's encouraging grin, Vivian's whoops from the sidelines. At 2, Riley babbled demands for Mama Lee's draw and Mama CLA's sing, her world a triad of touch and tune. Elena's sculptures dotted the nursery, whimsical guardians of wood and wire, warding whimsy. The cafe thrived, Whisper Grounds, a hub for neighborhood queers, open mics where trans poets spat fire, brunches with bottomless mimosas and bottomless hearts. Clara hired Jade part-time, her barista flair turning lattes into art, foam hearts for lovers, rainbows for allies. Lydia's archive expanded, grants flowing for digitizing oral histories, voices of Stonewall vets, ACT UP warriors, everyday women who'd loved across lines. Vivian and Elena married in a cliffside ceremony in Big Sur, salt winds whipping veils, Lydia as best woman reciting a sonnet she'd penned. Waves crash secrets, but you two endure, salt-kissed, sunbound, eternally sure. Theo flew out, toasting with uncharacteristic eloquence, to family, however it forms. Back east, challenges nipped at heels. A city zoning snag threatened the cafe's patio, corporate developers eyeing the block for condos. Lydia rallied, petitions circling like eddies, but bureaucracy stonewalled. Nights, after Riley's bedtime stories, she and Clara strategized over wine, frustration fraying edges. "It's the fight all over," Clara sighed, head on Lydia's shoulder. "Claim space, get pushed." Jade, over a war council coffee, dropped a bomb. "My ex, corporate shark, works for the firm. I'll lean in." Her call yielded a truce. Patio preserved, in exchange for Jade's art in the lobby install. Victory tasted sweet, but shadows lingered. Riley at 3 asked innocent Barbs, "Why 2 mamas?" "Friends have one daddy." Lydia knelt, honest as dawn. "Families come in colors, bug. Ours is rainbow strong." Vivian supplemented with tales. "Once, 2 women loved so fierce, they made a star from whispers." Riley's eyes widened, absorbing myth as truth. Summer sojourn to Cape Cod, the sailboat Vivian gifted, a nod to old lessons. Riley squealed at dolphins, Elena teaching knots with patient loops. One dusk, anchors down in a hidden cove, Lydia found Vivian at the bow, staring seaward. "Missing her?" Lydia asked, settling close. "Always a tide," Vivian replied. "But Elena, she's the current carrying me." She pulled a chain from her neck, Eleanor's locket, heart-shaped, engraved V and E forever. "Wear it. For luck." Lydia fastened it, metal warm against skin. "We'll sail this legacy home." Fall brought festivals. Boston Pride. The archives float a chariot of letters, Riley waving from Lydia's shoulders, tiny flag fluttering. Theo marched too, sign reading ally in progress, his strides syncing with the chant. Winter's grip loosened to spring revelations. Clara discovered she was expecting again, surprise from a forgotten IUD slip. Joy cascaded, but anxiety trailed. 2 kids, careers, the house's upkeep? Lydia's freelance boomed, a book deal for Drawn from Shadows, illustrations paired with Vivian's poems. Advances eased coffers, but emotional ledgers balanced heavier. Prenatal classes introduced doulas, hypnobirthing apps, but Lydia's dreams haunted. Eleanor's aneurysm, sudden voids. One midnight, panic clawing, she woke Clara. "What if I lose you? Like her?" Clara pulled her close, heartbeat drum. "You won't. We're here, woven. Feel this, life kicking back." Jade arrived for the birth, her presence a talisman. August heat peaked as Kai entered, dark curls like Clara's, cries a soprano aria. Vivian held him first, tears tracing laugh lines. Another hawthorn heart. Riley peered, curious finger poking his cheek. "Baby bread?" "Sister," Lydia corrected gently. "Kai means sea, endless, like us." Parenting duo doubled. Tandem nursing, tag-team tantrums, Clara's cafe runs with baby in sling. Lydia's book tour loomed, New York, Chicago, leaving Clara to helm Homefront. Guilt gnawed, but Clara waved it off. "Go spread the gospel, love. We're sturdy, In Manhattan, readings packed queer bookstores, fans clutching copies, sharing kin tales. A post-event mixer introduced Tessa. Curator, sharp wit, her laugh a hook. Flirtation sparked, harmless at first. Texts about art drops, coffee and bites. But homebound, Lydia confessed to Clara over FaceTime, Kai gurgling backdrop. Clara's eyes twinkled. Flirt back. Spice keeps us sharp. Trust their mortar, jealousy, no mortar. Tour wrapped triumphant, book climbing indie lists. Homecoming, airport reunion, Riley signed Mama's back, hugs melting miles. Summer again, family swelled with Kai's roles, Riley's recitals, tiny tap shoes clacking Eleanor's old jazz records. Elena's exhibit in Soho drew raves, Vivian's forward lauded. They jetted for the opening. Kids to Theo's for a weekend, his pool a splashy bribe. New York pulsed electric. Gallery throng. Champagne flutes clinking critiques. Tessa cornered Lydia post-toast. Your work, it's revelation. Dinner? Clara and Famille, encouraged. Go. Date night in the city. Vivian and Elena babysat virtually. Elena's FaceTime lullabies transatlantic. Dinner stretched to dawn. Ethiopian injera, debates on Audre Lorde, Tessa's hand brushing Lydia's over spiced lentils. Attraction hummed, but loyalty anchored. Text to Clara, miss you, but this city's alive. Return flights grounded her. Tessa faded to friendly emails. Clara greeted at Logan with pie, kids smeared in berry. Stories? She asked, eyebrow arched. Lydia spilled, kisses punctuating punchlines. You're my compass. Fall harvest. Archive fundraiser. Auction of Vivian's manuscripts. Bids soared, coffers for expansion, satellite in JP, youth programs. Theo donated a rare first edition wolf, redemption bound in boards. Winter solstice handfasting for Lydia and Clara, renewal vows under your log, Riley scattering petals, Kai in Elena's arms. Through shadows revealed, Lydia pledged, cord binding wrists to Clara's. Spring bloomed with blooms. Riley's preschool art show, finger paint rainbows, Kai's first word, Mama. Ambiguous delight. Jade relocated nearby, her studio a playdate haven, clay handprints immortalized. One lilac-scented afternoon, Lydia unearthed the time capsule. Decades mark. Digging yielded gasps. Eleanor's letter yellowed but vivid. Vivian's poem ink fresh. Clara's score yellowed but tuneful. Lydia's sketches crisp. Riley, 7 now, read haltingly. Whispers.
Bloom.
Kai clapped, 4, and fearless. They reburied with addenda. Riley's drawing of my big family. Kai's scribble. New letters vowing more to come. As sun dipped, circle closed. Hands linked, legacies layered. Eleanor's will, once rift, now root. 90% given, 100 returned in love's boundless math. The brownstones' creaks grew familiar symphonies, each grown a chapter in their unfolding saga. Riley, at 8, declared herself, artist like Mama Lai, her room a riot of easels and half-finished murals, dragons guarding rainbows, mermaids with 2 moms. Kai, 5, shadowed Clara at the cafe. Barristo, apron dwarfing his frame, charming tips with gap-toothed grins. Lydia's book spawned sequels, illuminated echoes, collaborations with Jade's visuals, Vivian's annotations. Tours International, London's Queer Lit Fest, Toronto's Pride panels, Clara joining when shifts allowed, kids to Elena's Vermont farm for anti-adventures, goat milking, stargazing. Vivian published Tides of Us, memoir poem hybrid, dedications to Eleanor, my north, Lydia, my dawn, Elena, my horizon. Reviews hailed it a queer odyssey for the ages. Oprah's book club nod sending it stratospheric. Royalties funded scholarships. Hawthorne Reed grants for young lesbians pursuing arts. Theo's thaw completed. Retirement to Boston. Condo near the Common, weekly dinners where he regaled kids with sanitized 50s tales, peppered with "and that's when your great-aunt Eleanor showed how it's done." His will, shared over brandy, mirrored Eleanor's. Bulk to "the family that chose me." Challenges crested subtly. Riley's school, progressive on paper, fumbled inclusivity. A history unit glossing over Lavender Scare, teacher blushing at two mom queries. Lydia volunteered, guest lecture on hidden heroines, slides of Eleanor and Vivian's letters anonymized but potent. Backlash minimal, parent emails praising, eye-opening. But Riley's pride swelled, her class project a diorama of "my supermoms." Kai, quieter, navigated gender fluidity early, dresses one day, trucks the next. Clara championed, buying both. Lydia sketched affirming tales. The boy who wore wings, self-pubbed for his shelf. Summer idyll. Maine cabin rental, lobster bakes on pebbled beaches. Jade joined, her partner Mia, a soft-spoken librarian. In tow, their dynamic, easy alchemy. Evenings bonfired, stories swapped. Mia's 80s punk scenes, Jade's donor regrets turned to found family gospel. One fog-mantled morn, Lydia and Vivian kayaked out, paddles dipping syncopated. Regrets? Lydia asked, seals barking distant chorus. Vivian dipped or, thoughtful. Only the years silenced. But you, the kids, redemption's verse. Fall Frenzy. Archives 10th Anniversary Gala, black tie under chandeliers. Clara emceed, with sparkling, kids in tiny tuxes, Riley reciting original poem, Grandmas of the Heart, fierce as firelight. Bids for silent auction shattered records, a Vivian reading fetched $50K. Post-party, champagne buzz, Tessa reappeared, now gallery director, invite to a Berlin residency. Your voice, Lydia. Europe needs it. Clara, overhearing, grinned. Go. We'll hold the fort. Winter whispered warnings. Elena's diagnosis, breast cancer, early but insistent. Vivian's vigil was steel-wrapped fragility, hospital haikus texted to the group chat. Lydia drove them to appointments, Riley drawing superhero aunt cards, Kai's hugs fierce. Treatments taxed, but community rallied. Meal trains from cafe regulars, Theo's stock tips for medical funds. Remission came spring, Elena's first post-chemo sculpture of Phoenix of recycled glass, installed in the garden, glinting guardian. Lydia's Berlin sojourn. 6 weeks, Clara and kids visiting midway. Cobblestone streets, U-Bahn rumbles, her workshop a garret overlooking Spree. Installations bloomed, interactive walls where visitors pinned, revealed secrets, threads connecting like neural nets. Tessa's friendship deepened, platonic anchor, gallery crawls, schnitzel debates. Home calls grounded, Clara's we miss your sketches, Riley's draw Berlin dragons. Return, airport crush, Kai's sign mama's world tour over. Elena's welcome feast, vegan triumph, her energy renewed. Summer sizzled with expansion, cafe second location, JP, murals by Riley's class. Archive podcast launched, whispers unveiled, Lydia hosting elders' tales, Vivian guesting on Love's Long Game. Fall's cusp, Riley's bat mitzvah planning, Clara's Jewish roots honored, service blending Torah with Lord lyrics. Prep classes stirred identity queries. Am I everything? Lydia and Clara tag-teamed. You're Riley, whole, wonderful, yours to define. Ceremony swelled hearts, synagogue rainbow-draped, Vivian's blessing in verse, Theo's Hebrew halting but heartfelt. Riley's speech, my mom's taught me, love's the mitzvah that multiplies. Winter wonder, Kai's kindergarten play, tree and nutcracker query imagined, sugar plum fairy with 2 kings. Backstage, Lydia whispered to Clara, our nutcrackers. Spring surprise, Jade's proposal to Mia, beach elopement invite. They jetted to Cape Cod, toes in surf, vows exchanged as gulls ordained. Lydia caught bouquet, silk kelp, laughing with Clara. Round 3. Summer soaked in simplicity. Porch swings, ice cream drips, Elena's recovery yoga in the yard. Vivian's new chapbook, Horizon's Hand, Elena co-illustrated, launch intimate, brownstone reading, kids conked out upstairs. Fall foliage tour, Vermont Drive, Lisa Flame. Stops at Queer BNBS, Theo trailing in his Prius, picnics of cider and cheese. One overlook, vista vast, Lydia pulled Clara aside. 10 years wed. Renew. Clara's kiss. Every day. Winter's hush. Archive holiday market. Stalls of zines and zingers. Riley sold her comics. Kai hawked lemonade, spiked with Sprite. A donor approached Lydia. Your story inspired my coming out at 60. Tears pricked. Legacies ripple. Spring equinox. Family ritual. Garden circle. Buried anew. Riley's poem, Kai's fossil collection, Clara's lullaby score, Lydia's Berlin sketch, Vivian's chapbook page, Elena's phoenix shard, Jade and Mia's sand vial, Theo's family tree, branches inclusive. As earth received, hands joined, circle unbroken. Eleanor's will, seed sown, now orchard, fruits of fortitude, sweetness of shared sun. Adolescence ambushed like a squall. Riley at 12 navigating tempests of tweenhood. Crushes on bandmates. Clashes over screen time. Her murals evolving to moody abstracts of storm-tossed ships. Kai 9 channeled energy into soccer. Cleats muddying halls. His questions sharper. Why no dad in pictures? Answers layered with love, but puberty's tide tugged. Lydia's career crested. TEDx talk, Inheriting the Invisible, views viral, invites cascading. Clara's chain hit 3 cafes, Whisper Empire, staff a tapestry of trans baristas, non-binary bakers. Vivian's professorship at Emerson, queerlit chair, mentored prodigies, Elena's studio booming commissions. Theo's health faltered, heart murmur, stent. Weekly check-ins became cohabitation stretches, his stories gold for the kids. Your great-uncle once protested with your grandma. She smuggled the signs. Summer splintered. Lydia to Sydney Lit Fest, Clara to Portland Coffee Expo, kids to Jade's main camp, arts and archery, Mia's nature journals. Vivian and Elena escaped to Italy, gelato-fueled rambles through Pompeii ruins. Reunions reforged, airport pylons, tales tumbling. Riley confessed a kiss, girl from camp, tentative. Lydia hugged fierce. First waves crash hard. Ride am true. Fall frenzy, Riley's middle school dance dress debates. Femme or andro? Clara stitched a gown hybrid, velvet and leather. Kai's goal streak, team jersey Lydia illustrated with mascots mythical. Winter's weave, archives, youth voices, wing, Riley curating teen zines. Gala youth-led, Kai MCNG with charm off-kilter. Spring scandal, school board challenge to inclusive books. Lord yanked, Wolf warned. Lydia testified, council chambers packed. These pages saved my family. Censor them. You censor survival. Win narrow, but wave. District policy shift. Diverse reads mandate. Summer soaked. Family cruise, Caribbean, not luxury but lively. Cabin fever thawed to deck dances. Riley DJing indie. Kai snorkeling reefs. Vivian proposed group tattoo. Interlocking hearts. Eleanor's initials subtle thread. Ink stung sweet. Solidarity scarred. Falls fire. Kai's first crush. Boy from soccer. Hand-holding hesitant. Is it okay like Riley's? Clara nodded. Love's shape shifts. Heart's the constant. Lydia's novel dropped. Will's whisper. Fictionalized memoir. Oprah reboot pick. Book tour whirlwind. Clara co-piloting readings. Kids FaceTiming antics. Winter warmth. Elena's cancer check clean. 5 years. Celebration solstice. Feast of foraged finds. Theo's lax lumpy but loved. Spring sprout. Riley's period arrives, Moontime Ritual, Clara's herbs, Lydia's sketches, Vivian's verses, Elena's crystals. Power, not plight, they chorused. Summer sojourn. Europe loop. Berlin Redux for Lydia's exhibit, Paris for Clara's pop-up, kids to Theo's genealogy dig, roots traced, branches bloomed. Fall flourish. Kai's bar mitzvah, Torah portion on exile and return. Speech. My family's the homecoming. Guests teared, Jade, Mia, Theo beaming. Winter's gift. Archive endowment, named Eleanor and Vivian Legacy Fund. Dedication tearful, plaque unveiled, love revealed, lives illuminated. Spring sigh. Riley comes out, by banner drop at Pride Youth March. Banner. Hawthorne hearts know no bounds. Lydia's chest swelled, Eleanor's echo loud. Summer simmer. Family retreat, Adirondacks cabin. Hikes hashed histories, canoe confessions. Kai asked a donor. Meet Jade more? Plans percolated. Fall's fanfare. Clara's cookbook, brews of belonging, recipes, laced with lore. Launch packed, Riley's illustrations, Kai's taste tests credited. Winter whisper. Vivian's keynote at National Queer Conference, Elena arm in arm. From shadows to spotlights, she thundered. Spring spark. Lydia pregnant, surprise IVF holdover, due winter. Joy jittery, grandma at 40? Summer shade, maternity leave early, belly beach bumps with Riley's hand. Kai's Sib secrets whispers. Fall frost, baby named Brainstorm, sage, for wisdom's herb. Theo's tales of Hawthorne Hardy. Winter welcome, December dawn, sage-born, serene, slate eyes surveying. Riley's big sis crown, Kai's gentle rocks, Clara's croons. Circle widened, brownstone brimmed, cribs crowding, chaos cherished. Eleanor's will, once weight, now wings, lifting love's layered, legacies launched. Sage's gurgles gurgled into giggles, her 8-month milestones marked by mobile mobiles. Eleanor's locket dangling, Vivian's verses recited. Riley, 14, rebelled in rhythms, ear piercings, band teas, debates over curfews. World's burning. Why bedtimes? Lydia countered calm. Rest fuels the fight. Kai, 11, geeked on gadgets, inventions jury-rigged from archive scraps, solar lanterns for homeless heroes. Clara mentored, cafe corners commandeered for prototypes. Lydia's authorship ascended. Will's Echo's screenplay optioned, Hollywood scout sniffing. Authentic queer leads, she stipulated, script consultations with Vivian's poetic punch. Clara's empire empired, Fourth Cafe, Cambridge, MIT adjacent, nerd fuel with non-binary baristas. Profits plowed to community, free coffees for unhoused, trans health grants. Theo's 80th, bash at the house, balloons bobbing, borscht bubbling. Speeches skewered sentiment. From contest to chorus, thanks to you wild hawthorns. Summer schism, Riley's romance, first girlfriend, emo poet from Poetry Slam. Breakup bruised, ice cream therapy with Lydia. Hearts heal, but scars story. Kai's camp crush culminated in letters. Dear Alex, your kick's cosmic. Support soft, Clara's write your truth. Fall's forge, Sage's first word. Book, fitting fate. Archive toddler tours, her chubby fingers flipping flaps. Winter's woe, global ripples, anti-LGBT bills brewing. Lydia lobbied D.C., testimony tearless. Wills like my mother's built bridges. Burn them, you bury us. Win Pyrrhic but precedent. Federal protections nudge. Spring surge, Elena's gallery solo. Resilient forms, cancer-inspired curves. Sold out, proceeds to wellness collectives. Summer splash, family flotilla, Boston Harbor cruise, fireworks finale. Riley DJ, Kai pyrotechnics geek, Sage stargazed slack-jawed. Fall's ferment. Jade's memoir drop. Donor days. Lydia forward. Tour tandem. Kids cameo ing readings. Winter's weave. Vivian's retirement tease. Time for Elena's adventures. Sabbatical to Greece. Uzo toasts to Odysseus queered. Spring seed. Riley's high school app. Arts magnet. Portfolio powerhouse. Acceptance elation. Tears twin. Summer sojourn. Road trip southwest. Grand Canyon gapes. Sedona vortices. Vortex visits vibed. Kai's energy engines sketched. Fall's fan. Kai's patent pending. Eco-lamp for refugees. Clara crowd-funded. Production pride. Winter's warmth. Sage's second birthday. Cake chaos. Frosting faces. Family photos framed. Spring storm. National scandal. Riley's school faces book ban push. She rallies. Petition 10K signatures. Media maelstrom. Lydia shielding. Your voice, not venue. Resolution. Bans blocked. Riley honored. Youth Activist of Year. Summer's serenity. Retreat to vineyard. Bikes buzzing. Beach books buried. Fall's flourish. Clara's TED. Caffeine as catalyst. Viral views. Invites influx. Winter's wonder. Archives 20th. Virtual global. VR tours of hidden homes. Spring spark. Lydia's sequel. Legacy's light. Sage dedicated. Launch luminous. Love's layered. Summer song. Family music fest. Riley bands. Kai DJs. Sage sways. Fall's fire. Theo's 90th. Will read. House annex for Grandkin quarters. Winter's wish. Vivian's illness. Flu to pneumonia. Hospital haze. Rally round. Elena's vigil. Kids' cards cascading. Recovery reluctant, but return. More verses to verse. Spring's bloom. Sage walks. Wobbles to Vivian's lap. Summer's summit. Canyon redux. Family full. Jade, Mia, their twins toddling. Fall's feast. Harvest home. Pies from plots. Winter's wrap. Circle solstice. Capsules compounded. Futures folded in. Eleanor's echo. Eternal. Love's will. Willed infinite. Riley's 16th dawned with driver's license and drama. First car crash. Fender bender. No fault. Grounding gilded with growth talks. Roads curve. So do hearts. Lydia lectured lightly. Kai. 13. Teen tormented. Voice cracks. Growth spurts. Girl group crushes confessed in code. Clara's cafe confabs. Crushes confuse. Kindness clarifies. Sage. 3. Terror toddler. Tantrums theatrical. Vocabulary voracious. Why moon chase? Vivian's fables fed. To catch dreams. Lydia's screen adaptation greenlit. Director Dyke icon. Cast clearcore. Set visit scripted. Kids extras. Riley as teen activist. Kai grip. Sage prop mascot. Clara's fifth cafe. Roxbury. Reclamation space. Ribbon red. Ribbon cut by locals. Theo's frailty. Walker wheels. But wit wetted. Wheeling to weddings next. Summer schooled. Riley's Europe solo. Backpacker badge. Berlin bunk with Tessa's kin. Postcards poetic. Freedom's foreign feel familiar. Kai's invention expo. Lamp lights laurels. Scholarship snagged. Fall's flux. Sage's preschool plunge. Separation sobs softened by stories. Winter's wave. Global queer summit. Lydia keynotes. From will to worldwide. Spring strife. Riley's romance reignites. Poet redux prom plans. Heartbreak sequel. Therapy threaded. Patterns break with practice. Summer sojourn. Alaska Aurora hunt. Northern lights nodding to legacies lit. Fall's firestorm. Kai's school bully. Fag family slurs. Report. Rally. Restorative circles. Bully breaks. Bridge built. Winter's Warmth, Elena's exhibit tour. Asia Arc, Vivian tagging, haikus home sent. Spring Sprout, Lydia pregnant again, planned, IVF encore. Dew Fall, family frenzy. Summer's Shade, maternity nesting, nursery neutral, stars and stories. Fall's Flourish, baby Blair arrives, blonde wisps, bold cry. Riley rocks, Kai reads, Sage shares. Winter's Weave, archive AI project, oral histories digitized, dreams decoded. Spring Spark, Riley's college apps, RISD dream, portfolio prowess. Summer Symphony, family orchestra, Riley violin, Kai drums, Sage tambour, Clara flute, Lydia lyre, ukulele. Fall's Fanfare, Kai's bar mitzvah redux, confirmation, community chosen. Winter's Wish, Theo's centennial tease, century of change. Spring Storm, climate queer camp, kids council, Riley panels, Kai prototypes. Summer's Sea, transatlantic, family France, Louvre lounges, Eiffel embraces. Fall's Feast, Blair's baptism, secular splash, loved ones lakeside. Winter's Wonder, Vivian's valedictory, Emerson farewell, Fest Schrift Fest. Spring's Bloom, Sage's school show, Little Mermaid Lesbo twist, Two Princes. Summer Summit, Canyon closure, full circle, Sage strapped. Fall's Fire, Lydia's film premiere, Sundance Snow, standing ovations. Winter's Wrap, Circle Centennial, Theo's tales topped. Eleanor's Essence, ever-enduring, love's ledger balanced in boundless. Riley's RISD acceptance roared, Rhode Island road trip, dorm decked in dreams. Freshman flings flickered, finals forged focus. Kai, 15, football fervor, quarterback queer, cheers from Clara's sidelines. Sage, 6, sassy scholar, debate club darling, why wars, woes. Blair, 1, babble boss, book, echoes. Lydia's film festival frenzy, Oscars buzz, but authenticity armor. No straight washing. Clara's cafe collective, worker co-op, Roxbury roots radical. Theo's Twilight, hospice hum, story stockpiled. Tell M. Lydia. Summer send-off, Riley internship Berlin, Tessa tutelage. Kai's camp council, eco lead, lamps lighting lakes. Fall's Flux, Sage's sleepover saga, ghost stories, girl crushes glimpsed. Winter's Wave, Elena's encore exhibit, endless forms, evolution etched. Spring Strife, global gauntlet, Riley protests, remote rallies. Summer Sojourn, family Finland, sauna sweats, solidarity soaks. Fall's Flourish, Kai's prom, suit sharp, date duo, poly trial. Winter's Warmth, Vivian's volume, verses for voyagers, voyages voiced. Spring Spark, Blair's birthday bash, bubbles books. Summer Symphony, Riley returns, recital raw, compositions queer-coded. Fall's Fan, Sage's science fair, solar sage, star-studied. Winter's Wish, Theo passes, peaceful, pie in hand. Funeral fusion, synagogue, songs, stories. Will wise, scholarships, household. Spring's Bloom, memorial mural, Theo's touch, tolerant tribute. Summer's Sea, Mediterranean meander, Greece glow, Vivian's haiku honeymoon redux. Fall's Fire, Lydia's Oscar nod, best adapted, when whispered, for hidden hearts. Winter's Weave, Archives AI archive, ancestors animated. Spring Storm, Kai's college chase, MIT maker, magnets pulled. Summer's Summit, Family Fjords, Norway Nods, Northern Nights. Fall's Feast, Blair's Babel Books, Bedtime Bonds. Winter's Wonder, Elena's Engagement Ring, Remarriage, Revelry. Spring's Seed, Sage's Summer Camp, Queer Quests. Summer Song, Riley's Grad Gig, Gallery Girl. Fall's Flourish, Kai's Acceptance, Cambridge Call. Winter's Wrap, Vivian's Voyage, Antarctica, Aurora's Anew. Eleanor's Echo, Eternal Ember, Igniting Infinities. Riley's RISD Graduation Gleamed, Cap Tossed, Canvas Clutched, Girlfriend Gallery Bound Beside. Kai's MIT Matriculation Hummed, Hacker Haven, Heart Home. Sage, 12, Prodigy Poet, Published Pamphlet, Vivian's Vein. Blair, 6, Sprite Storyteller, Once Upon Two Moms. Lydia's Laurels, Oscar Shelf, Sequel Scripted. Clara's Co-op Crest, National News, Brewing Belonging. Vivian and Elena's Vow Renewal, Venice Vaporetto, Vows Veiled. Jade and Mia's Twins Teethed, Tandem Tantrums Tamed. Theo's Trust Thrived, Scholarships Sailed. The Brownstone, Bastion, Brimmed, Basement Bunkhouse for Boomerang Kids, Attic Archive Augmented. One Equinox Eve, Garden Gathering, Capsules Cracked, Contents Confetti, Letters Laughed Over, Sketches Sighed. Riley Radiant, From Will's Whisper to World's Roar. Kai Keen, Lights Lit, Legacies Launched. Sage, Loves the Plot Twist. Blair Bold, And They Lived, Multiplied. Vivian Raised Glass, To Eleanor's 90, Our Hundredfold. Clara Chimed, Hearts Inherited, Horizons Held. Lydia, Last, Secrets Revealed, Souls Set Free. Stars Wield Witness, Circle Complete, Love's Will, Willed Whole, Whispering Forever.